All right. That'd be good. Okay. So how was your break?
Good.
Good? What did you do?
We start with the error correction first.
Yeah, we can do that, sure. But what did you do for your break?
At home.
At home? Yeah, you just stayed home?
Mm.
Did you do anything fun? Just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sleep.
Just sleep. Okay, well that's good. How are things going so far? It's been a long time since we've spoke. So or worked together. So is everything going okay?
Mm.
Yeah? Okay. So, I'll do like I typically do, and I'll write on the board. Today is 4/8, I believe, 2013. And what do you want to work on today? You said you typically get you get a paper back, and then you have to correct. Is that what you want to do today? Part of like taking a look at some of the errors.
Yeah.
Okay. So. How about your preposition card that we've been working on? Do you have that today? Were you able to find a couple sentences for me? Yeah? Okay, so we can work on that too. The only problem with this room, I guess, is that we don't have the time. I'd like to look at the clock and make sure we divide our time. Okay, so why don't we do that? So then we'll look at some prepositions. Are you working on anything right now? Paper that you're turning in? You are? Do you want to do that as well? When is that going to be due?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay. So paper due Wednesday. So what do you think is the most important thing that we work on?
Grandma.
Grammar? You think grammar is the most important thing? Don't you think that this would be the most important? Like maybe we can take a look at that and look at your ideas, and then go back and look at the error correction. What do you think?
I think it's the error correction first.
Okay.
I do today.
Okay. Oh, it's due today. Okay. So due today. Okay. All right. So we'll do that. But we want to make sure that we have time for everything. Okay. So why don't we start with that? Okay. So just this page here. How many pages do you have? Just these 2 pages?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So why don't we read out loud? I can read a little bit, or you can read a little bit. We'll see maybe where there's something that needs attention, and I'll bring it up. Or if you have concerns, I want you to ask me too. Okay? Sound good? Can you tell me what the marks here are? These slashes?
My teacher, my professor corrected, and she might tell you where I get wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So there is more.
Okay, so she's giving you kind of a symbol here for verb tense. Okay. But the slashes, does that mean that maybe cancel the word out? Okay. So I consider myself as a risk taker. When I was 12 years old, I decided I'm going to just read, and then you stop me where you have a question. How does that sound? When I was 12 years old, I decided to come to the United States to receive a better education. I considered a lot before I made this decision, because this was a big risk in my life. So the teacher underlined this, and then you changed it to thought, or did she change it to thought? Okay. Okay, so it's a bit of a, what would you call that? You don't know, maybe like a word choice. And that's just something getting familiar with words that we use. in academic English. So the more you read and the more you see common words that we use will help with that. There isn't really anything that, a specific rule we can talk about. I was familiar with the country which was called the United States. So she's saying you could take out country which was called and just say I was familiar with the United States. This one I think you want to keep, right? Because the is, do you remember what we call the word the?
Article.
Article, good. So we need that. I was unfamiliar with the United States before I came here. If we do that, if we take all these words out, Kelly, what are we doing? We're making it more specific, right? So I think that helps there. Before I came here, I knew it was far away from China and took 12 hours flight to arrive by plane. Moreover, I knew this country had different cultures, and if this one is countable, if this noun is countable, what about this one?
Countable.
So I knew this country had different cultures and languages, right? And this right here, I think, is what? No, it's the right. It's right, but it's just what?
Oh, for FR.
Spelling. Okay. Especially the language barrier would be the biggest challenge for me if I would verb form, she's saying. Okay. What do you think about this one?
Studied.
Yeah. Especially the language barrier would be the biggest challenge for me if I studied in the United States. Although I learned some English from middle school, my English was too limited for daily communication. I also knew schools in the United States were free and fun from what I saw in this movie. Just one or more than one? Just one? So you only saw, so you learned, you knew schools in the United States were free and fun from watching one movie?
I put a movie there.
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm wrong. In the movie, okay, I'm sorry. High School Musical, okay. I learned that students in the United States were allowed to bring their cell phones to classes, dressed, so we just need the preposition there, in their own clothes, no uniform, and ate snacks in classes. Everything about the U.S., everything about let me read it for you two ways and you tell me what you think sounds better. Everything about everything about the U.S. schools, or everything about U.S. schools? Was strange and new to me. Knowing the uncertainties and challenges in my unclear future, I still chose to take this risk. Looking back, I thought that I was wise to take this risk. I got a lot of benefits since I came to the United States. For example, so this one's a little difficult. You're saying I got a lot of benefits since I came to the United States. For example, So in a way, this is a kind of present tense. So this one, yeah. For example, I had a lot of new friends. Expanded my vision in a new country. Okay. So then why do you think she's saying verb tense there then? Did you have them in the past, or do you have them now?
No. But again, here is present.
I know, but it's kind of like shifting back and forth between one and the next. So, would you say so? You've got a lot of benefits since you came to the United States. So since you came to the United States, then that's kind of saying something present tense. So in the past, you would say you had a lot of new friends. Well, you would say, yeah, new friends. You this is a little confusing, but you're talking about since you came to the United States. So since you came to the United States, if I said to you, since I came to the United States, I had a lot of friends. Does that make sense? What would you say? Like if we were just talking back and forth to one another, how would you say that to me? Yeah. I met a lot of new friends, or have. Yeah. A lot of new friends. Expanded my vision in a new country. Maybe you could use a connector word between these two. What do you think? Yeah, you have another one. Okay. Okay, so that's fine. Expanded my vision in a new country. Excellent. Knowledge from schools, and strengthened my English. Good. That one's a little confusing because of this being present tense and the others being past tense. But I think it's the way that this sentence that comes before, saying, since I came to the United States. Okay. Any questions about that? So it can be a little confusing. English grammar can be difficult at times. And yeah, she's saying modal. Okay. But, and I could not imagine that I got into a university. And I could not imagine that I got into a university in the United States. If I hadn't, do you remember, did we talk about this before? What did I say before? Do you remember what I...
Had law. Had law.
Yeah, had not. So in academic writing, we don't normally use contraction. We do it a lot when we speak, but in writing, we normally don't. So you want to write it out. I might have had a different story of my life. I might... This one, what is she writing there?
Modal.
She's writing modal.
What tense?
And let's see. And strengthen my English. And this is a tough one because I don't know exactly what she's saying. And I could not imagine that I got into a university in the United States. I don't know about that one, Kelly. I'm going to have to come back to that one. Let's see. And I could not imagine. Gain knowledge from schools and strengthen my English. could use a do there. What do you think? And I. I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to come back to that one because I'm not 100% sure what she's saying there. Maybe she's saying look for a different word other than a modal. She's saying verb tense that may be a verb. What do you think? Can you tell me maybe some other ways that you could say that? And then I cannot imagine that I got into University of the United States. I don't think so. Why don't we come back to that? Because that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'll get back to you. If I had not taken this risk, I might have had a different story of my life. I might. Now I like that you use this here. So I might study hard. What do you want to do? Can you write it for me? Can you write it down for me? Yeah. So what do you think? I might. Good. I might have studied preparing for the final high school exams if I had failed. Sometimes I'm not sure of your teacher's notes.
Here is like plural, but here is singular and here is plural.
Okay. Yes, I might have studied hard preparing for the final high school exam. Exactly. Good. So you figured that out yourself. If I had failed this, so then if this is plural, what word do we use?
Exams.
Yeah. And then what word would we use? Would we use this exams or?
Exam. Just exam. Those.
Those, yeah, or these. Good. I would have lost the qualification to apply for any colleges. Therefore, choosing to come to America could have had avoided this terrible this exam, luckily. So this last sentence, I think we talked about this one before. This one is a little unclear. Okay, so therefore, choosing to come to America, what do you want to say?
I would just use a Y.
I'm sorry?
How about just use a Y?
Avoid. Why don't you write it for me? Why don't we try to rewrite this last sentence into what you want to say? Because I really like your essay. I think you get your point across. I think you're very clear. But this last sentence, therefore choosing to come to America could have had avoided this exam, luckily.
Oh, this terrible exam.
Good. So why don't you write it out for me like in a sentence so we can see it? It's okay, write it for me. Sometimes it helps to write it on the page so that we can see, or even say it out loud. Choosing to come to America could have had avoided these terrible exams.
Those.
Choosing to come to America. What about the subject? Who's the subject of the sentence? Is choosing to come to America a subject? It's kind of like a. But who's the person who's coming?
Oh, I.
So.
I choose.
I think I like it the way you have it, but you can put I in a different place than at the beginning. What do you think? Excellent. Choosing to come to America, I could have had avoided these terrible exams. Could have had.
Could have avoided.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, good. So what I try to do when we do these error corrections, what I try to do is I try to get you to think about it and think about what other choices you could have made. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about that? No? Okay. What I'd like to do now, let me see. I hate to look at the clock. Okay, so we have a good half an hour, which is good. Why don't we take a look at your essay that you have now? This is a new one? Okay. Why don't we take a look at the essay? Did the teacher give you a prompt? Okay. And so we'll do like we usually do. Okay. So let's see. Would you like to read it for me?
We write a letter to teenreaders.com in which you express your opinion about whether or not the unwanted contain inappropriate things for teens to read in a high school English class. Your letter must include an introduction where you present your opinion, a body where you support your opinion with reasons, explanations, examples from the unwanted, and a conclusion where you give your final recommendation.
Excellent.
The purpose of your essay will be to persuade the teen.com readers to consider your opinion.
Okay. So, do you have any questions about the prompt? What do you think are the important parts about the prompt here, about what the teacher's asking?
Underline.
The underline? Okay. Inappropriate themes contains any inappropriate themes for teens. Whether or not the unwanted contains inappropriate themes for teens to read in high school English class. Can you think of anything else? No? What if I underlined a few words for you? So, if it were me and I were reading this prompt, I would think, write a letter to teenreads.com in which you express your opinion about whether or not The Unwanted contains inappropriate themes for teens to read in high school English class. Your letter must include an introduction, which is good, like you said, she underlined that, which you present your, what word do we see again? Opinion. And a body where you support your opinions with reasons, explanations. This is good. So support your opinion with reasons, explanations, and examples from The Unwanted. And a conclusion where you give your final recommendation. The purpose of your essay will be to, what is this word? What does that mean?
Let someone to read make them to read.
Yeah. Make them understand your opinion or believe your opinion or what you're trying to say. So, like if I try to persuade you, it's trying to convince you to my way of thinking. Does that make sense? Persuasion is something that we do in academic essays where we want our reader to believe and agree. Oh, be careful, we're filming. Sorry. No, it's okay. So persuade is, if I want to persuade somebody in my academic writing, I want to give my opinion, and then I also want to convince the person who's reading my paper of my opinion to kind of like agree with me as best I can. I want to try to get the person to agree with me. Does that make sense? Okay. So what I want to do is take a few minutes to read your essay like we normally do. And then while I'm doing that, I'd like you, like we normally do, have you write down any questions or concerns you have about your essay, what we want to look at. And also, if you think what you've written meets the prompt, meets what the teacher's asking for in the prompt. And if you have any questions about that, or you want to, any questions or if you're any concerns, I want you to write those down too, okay? Just like we normally do. Sound good? And again, is it okay if I write on the paper? Okay. Did you think of any questions? No? Excellent. I think you're doing a really good job in what we talked about before, starting to explain more, right? I want to take a good look at the prompt. So what did you write anything down for me at all? You don't have any questions or concerns?
She asked for the thesis statement in the introduction.
Okay.
Is it like thesis statement is necessary for only one sentence, or you can make?
You can use several sentences for a thesis statement, but one thing that I would say, in her prompt she isn't necessarily saying thesis statement, but there is one word. What was the one word that I underlined? What was the one word that I underlined? Opinion, right? And she asks for that several places, right? She says, write a letter to teenreaders.com in which you express your opinion about whether or not The Unwanted contains inappropriate themes for teens to read in high school English class. Okay. Your letter must include an introduction where you present your... Right. So, one really important part about a thesis statement is what we call an argument or claim. And if you make an argument, say for instance you have an argument with your housemate or your friend, what are you trying to convince them of? Your opinion, right? So in a way, I think that the teacher's not necessarily saying, I want you definitely to have a thesis statement, but your thesis statement is going to kind of come from your opinion. One thing that I want you to think about, which might make writing this a little bit easier, this is due on Wednesday. What is the teacher asking?
She says we don't necessary for letter.
Not necessary?
Not necessary for the letter format.
Format, no?
No.
It might make it easier for you. What do you think? No? Well, you do what you think is comfortable. If it were me as a writer, if I could write a letter to teens.com, I think that would make this project a little bit easier for me. So you asked me about a thesis statement. I think one of the best things to do is to break it down into the sections that she's asking for, right? So she's saying introduction, body, and conclusion. Okay. So, and I want to answer your question. So, right here on the top, in the front is the thesis. Here, can I circle?
Yeah.
So this here's the thesis here. Okay. And so then this would be
Body.
the body.
Until the last paragraph is body, and the last paragraph is conclusion.
Okay. So now how about your introduction?
Do it later.
Do it later? Okay, so you're still working on your introduction?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to focus on your thesis right now? Okay, well we can do that. We haven't talked about thesis yet. A lot of what we've been talking about is going from summary to explanation or analysis, right? So this would be a different topic for us, but that's fine. So, so this is your thesis here? Okay. And to answer your question from earlier, a thesis can be one sentence. A thesis can be 3 sentences. The length really doesn't matter too long. I mean, I don't think you want to go much longer than 3 sentences. But what's most important about a thesis, especially a thesis for this paper, what do you think is going to be important about the thesis in this paper? Opinion. Very good. Very good. Your opinion. So when I write a thesis, I try to have 3 main elements in my thesis. Have we talked about that? I don't think we've talked about thesis before, but I'll let you write these down. When I write a thesis, I like to have a topic, an argument or claim, which is basically an academic way of what? Of giving my opinion. And then I like to have evidence. So 2 or 3 examples, like the professor's asking for here, right? Support your opinions. So support your argument or your claim, your opinion, with evidence, which is reasons or explanations. This is a really good word. Examples from the reading to support. So when I write a thesis statement, I want to let my reader know what my topic is, what my argument or claim / opinion is, and what I'm going to use, what examples I'm going to use to prove my opinion, to support my opinion or my argument. Does that make sense? Okay, so the unwanted is inappropriate to use in high school is appropriate to use in high school because the important messages from the author, Keene Newman, are meaningful to high school students. High school students will meet a lot of challenges during the teenager time, and Nugent's message from this book may lead them to make right decisions. Very good. I think you're definitely conveying your opinion. I wrote how, but maybe what you can do is think about what you're using as your evidence or your examples, and you can incorporate it in there. So what do you think are what are the main things that you're using to support this, to support your opinion?
The body.
Yeah. So what things? What actual reasons, explanations, or examples are you using in the body? Can you tell me from your paper maybe 2 or 3 things that you're... Just those 2? How about this? Okay. Okay, excellent. So, high school students may face school violence, and commonly victims deal with violence in a wrong way. And the unwanted high school students may learn from Keene's bad experiences. Okay, high school students will meet a lot of challenges during the teenager time, and Nugent's message from the book may lead them to make right decisions. Okay, so this part then, what would you call that part then? What is the main example there?
Example?
Yeah, so you underlined this, right? And so what I'm asking you for is this is going to be a piece of evidence. So how is this a piece of evidence for your argument or your opinion? Yeah, good. It supports it. But how does it support it? It's an example of? No, it's okay. Don't think too much about it. So, high school students can learn from Keene's bad experiences, right? Nugent's message from the book may lead them to make right decisions. So, do you say in your thesis yeah, maybe you can, why don't you just write it down here? Because if it's a piece of evidence,
can put my Newman's bad experience.
I like very much what you have here. But like I said, when I write a thesis, or when we write an academic thesis, we want to have these elements in our thesis, right? So we literally want to tell our reader, this is the topic, this is what I'm arguing or claiming, or this is what my opinion is, and these are the things that I'm going to use to prove it. And I think you saying that learning from bad experiences is probably a good piece of evidence that you're using, right? Would you say that this whole body paragraph here, what would you say this whole body paragraph here is about?
Example from the book.
Good. But what example?
Bad experience.
What about bad experience?
Means violence.
And you said one really important word, right? Or several important words. Right. So do you think that this body paragraph talks about Keene, is that his name, Keene? Learning from his bad experiences?
Teenagers.
Teenagers. And teen being an example of a teenager, right? So teenagers learning about from their bad experiences? Yes? Good. Then why don't you write that down? Because I think that that's a good... do you think that that's a good piece of evidence or an example to support your opinion?
Reason.
Good, right? A good reason to support your opinion, right? So that's what we want to do. And then that's why I said, well, what's another one? Another event, Nugent teaches teens not living in hatred and influenced by violent experiences. So, now what I want you to do is tell me, what's your piece of evidence here? What is your, I'm sorry.
Example?
Yeah. But why don't you write it down for me like you did for this one? Because what you want to do is you want to be able to try to name them. Give them a name or a title so that you can put them in your thesis. So you can explain to your reader this message. Tell me more.
Message by teen trying to teach.
Trying to teach? Okay. So why don't you write it out for me in a sentence? What is the example? Not actually the example, but like you did here, right? This one was learn from bad experiences, right? Teach a lesson. Okay. And I like these words that you have here too. This may be two pieces of evidence that you could possibly use. Or they could be combined in one. I think you're combining them in two. So I'll ask you again for this one. What do you think this one, if this whole paragraph here is learning from bad experiences, what would you say this whole body paragraph is about?
Teach them not living in hatred.
Say it again.
Teach them not living in hatred and burn time.
Great, write it down for me. Let's save your other one too, okay? Okay. Teach teens not living in hatred and influenced by the past, being influenced by past experiences. Okay, excellent. So, what I want you to think about, you're going to do some revising, right, of your work. So, what I'd like you to think about is how a thesis statement is what did we say? 1 to 3 sentences? I try to write my thesis statement in one sentence. But in 1 to 3 sentences, telling your reader what your topic is, what your opinion, your argument or claim is, and the pieces of evidence that you're going to use. So what I'd like you to do is, since you found out that these are what your body paragraphs are about, I want you to try to put them in your thesis statement. Can you do that for me? Use them like as reasons to support your opinion. Does that make sense? Why don't you try to work on that and see if you can revise that and have that be a part of your thesis for when you turn it in on Wednesday. Sound good? Excellent. Okay, so do like we normally do and talk about what we did. Do you have any questions about anything that we did? Do you think today was helpful? It's been a long time since we saw each other, so I want to make sure we're doing good work. Good? Okay. So today is Monday. Thank you for coming. I'm glad that we're working together again. The 8th, 14th, your tutor is Michael.
Oh, I'm going to class later.
You have to go to class?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming, and I'll see you. I will see you next week, right? Can you tell them at the front desk when you clock out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're doing good work. Keep up the good work, okay?
Bye.
Bye, Kelly. I'll see you next time, okay?
Okay.